Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching the Patreon bonus stories. Here we go. The first one is I'm a little fired up about this one,
Yes.
Jesse. So this one is about an e-recycler who's going to prison. So Eric Lundgren, you've probably seen him on Jehu Garcia's YouTube channel.
Right. He built the longest range EV for quite some time.
Right, out of recycled parts.
Right, out
an
of
old BMW.
e-waste,
Right.
out of waste.
This guy is pretty cool. He has basically found ways to recycle lots of e-waste, like computers and hard drives and batteries. And so one of the things he did was he found out that there were all these computers, these Dell computers, these laptops that were going to be wasted because people didn't know how to get the operating system back on them again. You ever happen to you? Your hard drive crashes or something, and you need to reinstall the operating system.
Yep.
Well, you can go online to Microsoft and download it for free.
Right.
And, you know, when you buy it, it comes with a disk. Most of us throw that disk away. You can stick that disk in there, and it reinstalls it. So what he did was he said, hey, if I just get these disks and give them to people, they'll be able to get their laptops working again.
Right. So when I first heard this, I was like, okay, he's making illegal copies of licensed discs.
Right.
Which
And-
would be like basically stealing software, because every time you buy a computer, it comes with a license for Windows or, you know, whatever operating system you get.
And let me just have him put it in his words. So as you can see, the judge didn't quite understand this very key point. He valued the 28,000 restore discs as being worth $700,000. That means he valued each disc as
Who's he?
being
The judge?
The judge. So the judge valued each disc as being worth, you know, basically a brand new copy of Microsoft
Operating
Windows.
systems, right, yeah.
Instead of being worth basically nothing.
The cost of the disc and
right.
probably the case they put it in.
Right, like
because
25 cents or something.
Because the software that he was downloading for free was free.
Right.
It didn't require you to own Windows, because you could put the disc into any computer and it would be like, yeah, I don't have a license, and it wouldn't work.
It only works on those computers. He was trying to extend the life of these laptops instead of them turning into junk.
And so-
instead,
Right.
he's got sentenced to 15 months in prison and $50,000 fine.
He didn't even make $50,000 off of this little
No.
thing. He made $3,400
Correct.
because he basically sold them for what their cost was to make, which
Right.
was just disk, time, and the case.
And here's a guy who said his whole life is about trying to do recycling. And what does this do? It sends the chilling message, basically, don't do this. We don't want you to do this, which means that other people are going to stop doing it. And there might be just more e-waste.
Right. And Microsoft has this thing where they say we try to reduce e-waste, you know, but only through them, through their partner programs and stuff like that. And they're not as efficient as what Eric is able to do.
Right.
Because Eric, he says, you know, if the whole unit doesn't work, you use the parts. If the parts don't work, you go to the component level. Like you recycle everything you possibly can before you go to shred it up and recycle it or put it into waste. So I mean, and this is not just so that like you can resell it at a huge profit margin or something like that. It's so that way you can sell it to someone who probably wouldn't be able to afford a computer.
Right.
Right. It's this sort of refurbished, remade computer to be sold to families of low income or something like that. It enables more people to get online, to you know, learn things on the wonderful internet that we live in. Fantastic. So yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
I'm just embarrassed to be
Right.
an American when our judicial system can back up the big companies and when the judge obviously didn't even understand the basics of what this was about.
Right.
All right, so we got this from our friend in Melbourne, Australia, and our friend Ashley, and she showed us this video. Let's just watch it. So those accidents you just saw could all have been avoided if the cars involved had autonomous software, basically autonomous hardware. And so we just want to point this out, that we so often hear from people, oh, I don't trust computer cars and electronic cars. And Jesse had a really good point that he made after he saw this. He talked to me about cruise control.
Right. Most cars that you buy that you can see on the roads today have a feature in them that essentially does what autopilot does, except, first of all, it doesn't ask you to put your hands on the wheel every once in a while.
Right.
It doesn't steer for you. It doesn't brake.
It just locks the speed in.
It turns the car into a missile.
Right.
Okay? So basically, we have this system right now that everyone's okay with it. You don't hear anyone saying, we should ban cruise control because people can turn on cruise control and fall asleep and then they'll run off the road and kill somebody.
Right.
You've never heard that argument in like your whole life. The first time I learned about cruise control, it was the scariest thing I've ever... Oh, I can turn the car into an unguided missile?
Yeah.
What are you crazy?
That just shows how humans are. We accept things that we don't even question.
Right. And so now...
Everyone's talking about Tesla AP being so dangerous. This is way more dangerous.
Right. So now you're telling me that a system that is a lot smarter than the cruise control system, it's able to see cars in front of it, it's able to react, it's able to stay within lines, and knows when you fall asleep, is somehow worse? It's ridiculous. The next time someone says like, oh, Tesla, it's going to kill you, this, that, and the other thing, just say, oh, what does your car have? Does your car have cruise control?
Well, let's take a look at this. So this next story is about what Tesla radar sees, and this is really cool. So TMC user Damien X5i, he was able to get into the actual computer software of the Tesla AP, and he was actually able to convert it to this.
Right. So what you're seeing is sort of a converted version. Like he had to do some hacky stuff to see what the radar sees.
Okay, so so let me explain this. So if you see something green, that means it's moving.
Yep.
The computer knows it's moving. If you see something yellow, that means it's stopped. If you see something orange, that is something that is stationary. And if it's something red, it's something unknown.
Right.
And the size of the circle, if it's bigger, that means it's closer to the car. Smaller, it's further from the car.
Right.
Now, the circles aren't necessarily exactly centered over what it sees. He's approximating this because obviously he's having to convert this data. But it gives you a good idea of how the radar is seeing these objects. This is just the radar we're talking about. Right. Now, in this second video that you're seeing, this is showing the actual percentage, how, like, for instance, how fast the object is moving, what percentage it thinks it is reliable information, all sorts of, I mean, it's just amazing how much information is being processed by this computer.
Every second.
Every second.
I mean,
in real time.
Hundreds of times a second.
Right. And this isn't the visual computer. This is just the radar.
Right.
When you start thinking about combining this with the visuals and with the ultrasonics and with the GPS, you begin to go, wow.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Very powerful stuff in here. And so, I mean, again, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you know, is it perfect right now? Like, if I put it in autopilot, can I fall asleep? No.
That's not what it was designed to do.
You can't, you know, it's just so frustrating when people are so short-sighted. They are so willing to accept what they know, and as soon as something is different, they say, oh, no way. When what they have is worse. They have two eyes, right? They have two eyes that can only look in the same direction. You can't, like, this does not help me when I'm driving. I can't be like, oh, I can see twice as many things. No, I can only look in one direction to see what I'm doing. I have to rely on mirrors. I have to rely on, you know,
backup cameras, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. Or just moving my head. And
no, but basically, I mean, you're doing,
forwards.
It's your eyes that are doing all that work.
Right. I have ears.
Right. Whereas the computer has two eyes, but it has more eyes.
It has radar. I don't have radar.
And it has more cameras than you do. It has more eyes.
It's constantly looking in all directions. It's just like, it's so frustrating.
Let's just lighten the mood here. Yeah. Here's a killer AI robot.
What?
Oh, sorry. I meant a biking AI robot.
Oh, okay. Autocorrect failure there. Okay.
Isn't that cute?
That is cute.
And I think that if AI robots are going to take over the world, this is how they're going to start.
Do you think they're really going to know what cute looks like?
Yeah, they're smart. They're intelligent. They know, they've studied us, and they know that we think these are cute.
I don't know.
They're looking around. They're going, oh, everyone's...
I think it just shows how easy it is to make something cute. You just make it really small, and then all of a sudden, oh, it's so cute.
Don't give them any more ideas, Jesse. I'm sorry. All right, so VW has got a plant in Foshan, China, and we saw this video, and we just had to share it with you.
Right.
First of all, the music you're hearing is the music from VW. We did not pick this music.
Right.
So just enjoy.
So, I mean, you can see here, this factory, it's really not, like, if Tesla put out this video, right, I'm sure the stock price would drop by, like, 10%.
Can I just say, first of all, I mean, okay, you start with the drone shot. It's a boring one, but okay, fine.
Sure,
I'll accept that. And then you go to the employees leaving the factory. Well, okay, I'll even buy that. But then when you get inside the factory, you're going to show us robots going that slowly.
Right.
And that many robots to do, like, some of them are just waiting.
Most of them are waiting the whole time.
Then you show employees who are going super slow.
It looks like they're about to go on vacation or something. It
On
looks
top of the music that you're playing?
I know.
Well, how about some tech music? Instead, it's just like, I was not impressed at all. Who put this together?
I do not know who put this together.
All right, this is a really cool story. All right, so we're going to be showing you some pictures during this so you can kind of wrap your head around it. So let's go back to 1966, 1967. The U.S. had launched the Lunar Orbiters 1 through 5, and these were to take photos of the moon, and they would take them on 70-millimeter film. Get that. They put film in a satellite, and it took pictures onto the film, which was then scanned 200 lines per millimeter, and then transmitted to 3 receiving stations on Earth and recorded onto Ampex magnetic tape. Now, a lot of that won't make sense to you if you're like 20 years old. You'd be like, what is magnetic tape? But for you older people out there, you'd be like, I know what that is. So that's how they did it. Now, those tapes were locked away for years so that the Russians wouldn't know how good our spy camera technology was. Because this is what the picture looked like that you saw back in the 60s.
Right.
But this is what it actually took.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. I always thought, wow, we had horrible cameras back then. No, we did not. We had great cameras.
We're just lying.
We were lying.
That the Russians thought that we had.
Now, in the 1980s, NASA decided to digitize these photos for future generations because otherwise the data would be lost. So what did they do? Well, they found an abandoned McDonald's in Maryland.
Okay.
And they set up some machines. First, they had to get an Ampex FR900 machine. That's what used to read the tapes. But by the 80s, there were no working Ampex FR900 machines, so they first had to rebuild the machine.
Wow. Okay.
Then, after they rebuilt the machine, they had to write custom code to interface with Photoshop so that they could actually transfer these. Look at all these tapes, right? Oh, by the way, these photos showed a resolution of less than 1 meter on the moon. So each image had a file size of 2 gigabytes.
Wow.
And this is back in the 60s. Now, one engineer said that you could blow up the image to the size of a billboard with no quality loss.
Wow. So these were fantastic pictures.
Yeah, so here's a picture here of basically one of the NASA engineers back before Apollo 11 looking at a picture of the moon. He's climbing a ladder to look at it because it's so big, they've blown it up so big, to find exactly where they should land Apollo 11.
Wow.
But they had to keep this all secret from you and from the Russians. This is so cool. So if you want to see some of these images, go to this link below, Moonview's website, where you can actually download these gigantic gigabyte-size files, and you can see the actual original resolution. It's pretty incredible. Be prepared to sit there for a while it downloads. Since 2007, the Lunar Orbiter Image Recovery Project has brought back 2,000 images from 1,500 analog tapes, and the first ever picture of an Earthrise. This is Earth coming up in the
rising from the horizon of the moon.
Yeah, that was the first time it was ever taken a picture of. And Keith Cowing said, an image taken 250,000 miles away in 1966, the Beatles were warming up to play Shea Stadium at the moment it was being taken.
How cool.
Yeah.
How cool.
Yeah, and if it weren't for the internet, we would never hear about this story.
Of course not.
All right, now this is our final story. This is kind of an idea of what Neuralink I think is going to look like. So take a look at this. This is taking place at MIT, and this robot is being controlled by this guy's brain.
Right, and he's able to correct using his hand.
Right.
That isn't touching the robot.
Nope.
It's just giving it commands.
But he's just thinking in his brain. He puts that brain cap on, and you don't have to recalibrate this, by the way. Anyone could walk into there, put that on their head, and just start controlling that robot. How crazy is that?
It's going to be really cool when it's an exoskeleton suit, and you're able to just sort of like, because that's some Master Chief stuff right there.
This is cool stuff.
Yeah.
And that's not even drilling into your brain core yet. All right, thank you so much for watching, everybody. We love talking to you guys on Patreon because you guys are supporting our show and you're making this happen.
You guys are awesome. Our Patreons are all super awesome. We know this because you're actually helping support the show, which is just so awesome. And, you know, we got to actually talk to a whole bunch of you the other day when we did our live stream.
That's right.
And one of the people we were talking to was Ron Grossinger. He is a high school teacher in New Jersey, and he and his students have built an electric car with just their know-how and scraps and just
he teaches them how to weld, how to engineer, how to design things.
I would have killed for a teacher like that in high school.
Awesome.
And so we made a poster.
Yeah, we interviewed Mr. G, and that interview will be coming out soon. But yeah, we made a poster for him. It's in his classroom now. And maybe you're out there, maybe you're a teacher too, and you want that poster. Just go over to posterenvy.com and you can order that one too.
Right, you can actually order custom posters too.
That's right.
So I mean, if you have your own quote.
But I mean, this is one of his sayings.
Failure is a chance to learn.
That's right, Mr. G.
I think that's fantastic, and man, what a great guy. So shout out to you, Mr. G. Thank you so much for doing what you do, because you know. We're trying to inspire people. You're definitely inspiring your students.